Morning peeps, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for all the feedback about the new setup. I appreciate it. Even those ideas about things that maybe could make it a little bit better. I take it all on board, people, so thank you very, very much. I saw Derek Chisora and Joyce yesterday. They're doing their last little promo run for the fight on Saturday. They both came to the TalkSport studios. I can't tell you how big Joyce is. Enormous, honestly enormous. I think I'm going to go to the fight. I think I gave my predictions yesterday, but if I didn't, I think Joyce gets a late stoppage, maybe a corner stoppage. So look, we'll see how it plays out. I wonder if Don Charles is going to be in the corner of Derek Chisora. I think he might be. Derek's changed trainers quite a lot in recent fights, but I do think he might go back to Don Charles for this one. And Derek's also said it's going to be his last fight at the O2 Arena. Derek wants to get to 50 fights. I think he's on 47, 48, so he wants a couple more after this. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, Joe didn't look good against Cash Ali, and obviously he's coming off a couple of defeats, big ones before that, so it's not the same Joe either. So look, it'll be a massive, massive win for Chisora, and then he's in the mix. He's in the mix for big fights, so look, we'll see how it plays out. Talking of big fights, obviously I go to LA on Sunday for Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. And as this fight gets closer, obviously look, I'm the biggest Terence Crawford fan on planet Earth. I think he is the best fighter out there. But I think Madrimov causes him a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Every bit of tape I see on Madrimov just makes me feel like Madrimov is being slept on a little bit. Maybe he's being slept on because we all, like me, think Terence Crawford is just outworldly good. But I think Madrimov is very, very good as well. Like, I watch him and I do see a young Golovkin. So not the Golovkin that a lot of the American fight fans would have seen. I'm talking about the Golovkin that started fighting over here in Europe first. That Golovkin. If you can find tape on that Golovkin, watch him. That's a bit like Madrimov. And the biggest difference between the old and young Golovkin is young Golovkin was on his toes a bit more, and the way he used to cut angles sort of cut you down, like you couldn't get out. There was no room to exit. Madrimov's a bit like that. And obviously I saw Madrimov in his last fight. I was in it. I was there against Kurbanov in Saudi Arabia. 2 unbeaten fighters, and Madrimov just absolutely destroyed him. It's a good fight. Honestly, a good fight. Good undercard as well. I'm doing sit-down interviews on Monday. I think I'm speaking to Crawford, to Pitbull, David Morrell. I've got a list basically of the interviews I'm doing. So look, very excited to get out there. Can't wait for it. And then there's this fight card midweek I've just been informed about. There's a fight card after the public media workout. There's a free fight card, which is interesting. So yeah, looking forward to that as well, and looking forward to LA. All right, let's get to the main talking point. Chris Eubank Jr. Benn Shalom put something out on social media, or at least Michael Benson and others have picked it up, that Benn Shalom has said that Canelo's team and Chris Eubank Jr.'s team couldn't agree on a split for Chris Eubank Jr., so that fight isn't happening. I guess we kind of already knew that because we know Canelo's likely now to fight Edgar Berlanga, which we will do a video on, I promise you. The video is more going to be about Canelo than Edgar Berlanga, but we'll do a video on it. So I guess the question is, what next for Chris Eubank Jr.? Like, what's going to... How old is Chris Eubank, very quickly? I'm going to guess and say 35, which sounds a bit steep, but I think he might be 34. Well, 35 in September. Obviously hasn't fought since he beat Liam Smith. Good win under Bomac. Probably, in terms of a performance, maybe a career best win. Maybe a career best win. So look, I mean, he lives the life. Any other boxer that was 35, I would say, you know, you maybe have seen your best days. And he probably has, but I still think there is something left in Chris Eubank Jr. When I saw what Benn Shalom said, it kind of just made me feel like, okay, what was the fee they couldn't agree on? Like, what was Chris not willing to go down to? Look, this is all about Canelo, isn't it? I mean, especially if the fight's in America, like what, as much as I wouldn't mind seeing it, what value in terms of pay-per-view buyers and bums on seats does Chris bring to this fight? Do you know what I mean? What is he? Like, he doesn't bring the same value that Munguia brought. Munguia was known to the American boxing public. I've been to Munguia fights. He sells a lot of tickets. And I was in that arena for Munguia Canelo. I worked in that fight. And Munguia, I think, probably had 40% of the crowd in terms of they came for Munguia. Chris wouldn't do that. So what's his value? Like in terms of a percentage, if the pot's 100%, what would Chris say I'm worth? 10, 15, 20? Is he worth that? Like if the pot was 20 million, what does Chris think he's worth? So I'd love to know what that figure was. Let's play a game. Say it was 20 million and Canelo's team offered Chris 2 million, 10%. Is that too low? I don't know. I've always said that I think, and by the way, this is no dig on Chris. I'm a massive Chris Eubank Jr. fan. I know his team well. I think Chris brings something to every fight. Like you'll tune in for the pressers for Chris just because you know he's going to be entertaining. And in the ring, Chris fights. He puts it all on the line, and I like that and I appreciate that. But I've always said, if you are taking on the top dog, and Canelo still is the top dog, right? He's undisputed at 168. He still is the biggest draw in boxing. Although that's diminishing slightly, he still is the biggest draw in boxing. If you are so confident that you could beat him, or at least put up a good fight, then you take low ball money, because in the rematch, if the fight is so good, or if you beat him, then you're getting big money. You're getting big money. So you've almost got to bet on yourself. And it's funny saying bet on yourself, because Chris is a massive poker fan. Like he plays poker all the time. So he should understand that analogy. Sometimes you got to gamble in yourself a little bit. And I don't know if Chris has done that. And look, I get it if there is so many other names lined up to fight Chris where you're going to make that kind of money and it's going to be a big fight and your name's going to be lit up in Vegas and you're going to fight at the T-Mobile Arena. It's going to be sold out, but there isn't that. There isn't that other option. But the only options that we've heard that Chris could fight in the last 18 months have been Conor Benn, and that fight's done. That fight isn't happening. That fight's gone away. I don't even actually know what's going on with Conor Benn. I'm doing TalkSport at the moment with Gabriel Bonmoho, former Villa striker. You guys might know him. And he said, Addy, what's going on with Conor Benn? Expecting me to give him some inside information. I was like, I genuinely do not know. So Conor Benn, that's gone away. There was some talk about Terence Crawford. I know you might laugh at that, but that was legit talk. I know the people that were trying to put that fight on. And that, I think, would have been a very interesting fight for Crawford as he wants to step up and make that move to 168. I think that would actually have been quite intriguing. Obviously, I would have picked Crawford, but it would have been intriguing nonetheless. And that's it. Canelo. That's it. There's no other names. Like, where are the big names that he would want to fight at 160 or 168? They're just not there. They're not though, are they? It's true. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what Chris does. Will he box again? Yes. He signed this new deal with Boxer. So look, they're going to be trying to push him. But I just don't see where they push him to. Honestly, I struggle to think of a name that's going to make Chris as much money as low B-side money would have made against Canelo. Like, I struggle to think of who that person is. And the only one that jumps off the page is Conor Benn. But now he's signed with Boxer. I just don't see how there's going to be a relationship there between Eddie and Ben to make that fight. I just don't see how it works. So I don't understand. I think Team Eubank, if there were, and it seems as though there were legit conversations, I think Team Eubank have slipped up here big time. I think they've slipped up here big time. You just take the Canelo fight. You take it. You really do. Because even if you lose and you lose well, then there are other fights out there for you. Potentially people say, okay, let's see Conor Benn versus Munguia. Or let's see Conor Benn versus one of the Charlo brothers. There's other fights out there, and there's been a lot of talk about Chris fighting one of the Charlo brothers for a long time. People would have an appetite for those fights. They would. Potentially, let's see Chris versus Demetrius Andre. Now you don't take that fight, that window shuts. It shuts, and I don't know if it can be open or if it can be opened again. So look, I'm a bit upset. Again, I'd love to know what that figure was. But for me, I'll go back to it. If there was a pot of 20 million, I think you could go as low, if you're Chris, to 10%, 2 million. You can do that. You can do that. Like, I'm guessing Munguia would have taken 15 to 20%. But Munguia, as I said, brings so much more to the table in America than Chris Eubank does. If the fight was over here, then that's a whole different discussion. And it's a shame that Canelo doesn't fight over here. I think Canelo versus Chris over here would be fantastic in terms of numbers, bums on seats. But it is what it is. All right, let's quickly jump into the news and see what's going on. Live dog Edgar Berlanga promises Canelo Alvarez action. Yeah, Berlanga will fight. Berlanga will go for it. I mean, in this fight, September the 14th as well. So it's obviously Mexican Independence weekend, but then the Mexican Puerto Rican fights have always been ones that have sort of garnered interest, so it's a good one. My only concern for Canelo versus Berlanga is that it's going head to head, toe to toe with the UFC that are doing an event, I think, at the Sphere in Vegas. Don't know. I know Canelo's a big draw, but I don't think you want to go head to head with the UFC on the same weekend. I just don't see it. What's this one? Caleb Plant may face new foe after Trevor McCumbee is cut. Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. But again, even with this one, like, you're not getting anywhere near the money. It's not even a pay-per-view fight. You ain't getting anywhere near the money. So, yeah, I don't know. New look, new everything. Clarissa Shields promises evolution at 175. I don't even know when this fight is. When's this fight? Let's have a look. The 27th. Oh, that's this weekend. Didn't even know that fight was happening, if I'm honest with you. I think it might even be on DAZN. Didn't know that fight was happening. You know what she needs desperately, and I don't know why she doesn't have it. She needs a manager that speaks, or a promoter that really speaks for her. Like, her promoter's been Dimitri Salita for a long time. Do you know what I mean? She desperately needed a manager that would sell her fights for her. Like, she tries her hardest, Clarissa, but there's this, like, when with all due respect to her opponent, we don't give a shit about that, if I'm honest with you. But the thing you would give a shit about is Clarissa Shields. Do you know what I mean? So you're like, I'm just going to tune in because it's Clarissa Shields. Almost a bit like when Mike Tyson was destroying people in 1 round or 2 rounds back in the 80s. Although the opponents were crap, you tuned in because it was Mike Tyson. That was the story. It wasn't about his opponent. So maybe there should have been something around, let's just make it Clarissa Shields. But I guess the issue is Clarissa Shields ain't knocking people out like Tyson. So it's always a difficult sell. But it would have been very interesting to see if she had a promoter like Eddie Hearn, who would then wax lyrical about her being the GWOAT and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe there would have been a bit of conflict of interest with him having Katie Taylor. I don't know, but I feel like she struggled with not having someone that really pushes and sells her fights. All right, anything else before we wrap? Nonito Donaire still open to Sonny Edwards clash. If they're willing, I'm there. No, thank you. No, thank you very, very much. All right, guys, girls, that is it. Thank you, as always, again for tuning into the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.